Welcome students. So, we are in the process of learning about the extension of the credit period, but there are certain limitations, and we have discussed in the previous class the first limitation, that is of the marginal cost consideration and this limitation is from the perspective of buyer, not from the perspective of seller, because buyer would not like to buy at a interest rate when his say borrowing cost from the bank is lesser than the borrowing cost which is used by the seller to load the credit sales is more. So, in that case he would like to borrow from the bank and then pay directly to the seller. So, it means he would like to borrow for a period where the marginal cost of getting more credit, longer credit is equal to his opportunity cost. If the opportunity cost or his borrowing cost from the bank is lesser than the borrowing cost from the buyer from the seller, in that case it is better for him to buy for that much credit period where both the costs are equal. The opportunity cost or the loading factor or the selling cost or maybe the interest which is being charged by the seller from the buyer is equal to the borrowing cost from the bank. So, in that case it is indifferent, the buyer is indifferent at that point because whether he borrows money from the bank and pays in cash to the seller, or whether he borrows from the seller on a credit period and allowing him to load the credit sales with the interest, both the interest rates are equal, both the costs are equal, but he would be more say comfortable with the seller, borrowing from the seller or buying on credit for that much period from the seller, because he has to not to go for any further documentation when he is borrowing from the bank. So, that is the only period, there is a maximum period for which the borrower or the buyer would like to buy on the credit from the seller. After that, if the credit period is extended, in that case what will happen the borrowing cost for the buyer from the seller will be much higher as compared to the borrowing cost from the bank, and in that case for him it is advisable to borrow money from the bank and then to pay to the seller after that credit period. So, it means credit period limitation is there, and this is the first limitation from the perspective of the buyer, not from the perspective of the seller. Seller is ready to sell for any period because buyer is of a good credit worthy, enjoys good credit worthy position, and he is having a good reputation in the market. He is well off, he is financially well off buyer. So, there is no problem to him, but there is a problem to the he is a very good credit worthy buyer. So, there is no problem to the seller, but the problem is to the buyer, that the buyer will not be able to save upon the cost or the borrowing cost and buying on credit from the seller beyond a particular period of time where the opportunity cost is lesser than the cost of paying the interest or say buying on credit from the seller is higher. So, this is the first limitation. Second limitation we will learn about is, that is because of the tax part or the say tax consideration. Now, what is that? Let us see that part with the help of an example. Say for example, we have these this information is available with us, and we consider the 4 credit periods: 3 months credit period, 6 months credit period, 9 months credit period and the 12 months credit period. Means is there any limitation because of the tax factor to decide the length of the credit period? Yes, there is a problem because of the tax factor, and how that problem comes up in the way and how the tax factor creates a problem in extending the credit from the seller side, and how it is again a problem to the buyer also. Means if the seller is not able to sell beyond a period, in that case there will be a problem to both the sides. So, see, when we talk about these limitations, we were talking about the 2 limitations: marginal cost consideration. This is a limitation to the buyer because he cannot buy beyond the given period of time or a particular period of time, and the tax consideration is a limitation to the seller because seller also cannot sell beyond the say certain period of time. So, how it is a limitation? We have seen already that is a marginal cost consideration. We have already seen that how it is a problem to the buyer, and in this case we will see how it is a problem to the seller. And this is coming up because of the tax factor and say selling on credit for a period or a time period, and then how the tax factor creates a problem. that we will be considering here now, which is a limitation, serious limitation for the seller, that he cannot extend the credit beyond a period because of this important factor which is called as tax. Let us see, when you talk about the selling on credit, here we will have to see that in that case seller is selling today and he is going to receive the funds after a certain period of time, and that certain period of time is the credit period allowed by the seller to the buyer. So, the funds are going to be back with him at the end of the credit period. But in India we follow the advance tax payment system. In India we follow the advance tax payment system. It means it is assumed, and it normally happens also in the market, that when any sales are made by the seller in the market, whether it is on the cash or it is on the credit, seller is supposed to pay the advance tax on those sales to the government. Means the Indian corporate tax system is the advance tax payment system, and that is paid quarterly after every 3 months. So, for the ensuing quarter the tax has to be paid in the beginning, then for the next quarter the tax has to be paid in the beginning of the quarter. This way for all the 4 quarters the tax is paid in advance by the sellers in India, and at the end of the year then the total calculation is made that how much actual sales the seller has made, how much tax has in advance been paid by the seller, and how much tax was due to be paid. If he has paid less tax, he will pay the balance tax to the government. If he has paid more tax then the he is supposed to pay, then he will get the refund of the tax. So, because of this advance tax payment system, there comes a problem in extending the credit to the buyers, because here the problem is that you see that when the seller is selling, he has to pay at the point of sales to the government one component that is called as the tax. So, if somebody is selling today, he is selling to the buyer, but he is not getting anything in return to that, because those sales are for a credit period of say 3 months, 90 days. So, it means sale proceeds will be realized to the seller back after 90 days or on the 90th day, earliest is the 90th day, not before that. So, on the point of sale what he is making the payments to, first payment he is making is that is the cost of production. He has already made the payment to the suppliers of raw material, he has already made the payment to the workers, he has already made the payment to all these utilities, power, water and other overheads. So, that is the cost of production he has already paid, right. Second thing is, because of the advance tax payment system, he is supposed to pay the advance tax on those sales at the point of sale. However, those sales will be realized by him 3 months down the line. In that case, he is paying the tax on those sales also which he has not yet collected. Those sales will be collected at the end of the quarter, means after 3 months, but he is supposed to pay the tax today. If it is the system like in India, if the seller is allowed by the government that after the collection of the sales after 3 months, he should be asked to pay the tax on those sales collected, then there is no problem. Any period can be extended by the seller to the buyer. It is up to the buyer whether he wants to enjoy any unlimited period or not. But because of the advanced tax payment system, he is paying the tax on the point of sales on those sales also which he has not collected in cash. It means when we are selling on credit, it is assumed that the sales are made. When the sales are made, sales are always made on profit. Profit is also earned, and the part of that profit has to be paid to the government as a tax. So, on the point of sales, sales are made, profit is earned, tax is paid. Whereas in the real sense, nothing has happened. Means only sales have taken place, but neither the revenue has come nor the profit has been earned in cash. Only it is a nominal profit, nothing not it has been earned in cash. And if sales are made, no cash is received, no profit is received in cash. But if the seller is supposed to pay the tax on that in cash, he has to deposit the advance tax to the government, then because of the present value of money, there comes a problem in the way. And how that problem comes in the way, that we are going to learn here. So, because of that problem of that advanced tax payment system, seller cannot extend the credit beyond a particular period or beyond a particular date. So, in this case we are taking the 4 time periods. First is 3 months, second is 6 months, third is 9 months, fourth is 12 months, right. Now you see in this side these are the particulars we have taken here, and the particulars, the first particular is base price of the product. Base price of the product means that this is total cost plus profit, everything is, that is the base price of the product, that is 10,000 rupees, that is the selling price, we call it as base price, means the selling price of the product is 10,000 rupees worth of the sales. 10,000 rupees worth of the sales if are to be made by a seller to the buyer, and the credit period has to be any of the four options, then what will happen? Base price is 10,000, all the 4 period 10,000, loading factor is we are taking 2% per month, 24% per annum. This is a realistic factor. In the market, when we make the credit sales, sellers load their credit sales with this much of the credit loading factor with the interest factor, that is 2% per month or 24% per annum. So here we are loading those sales because we are going to make the sales on credit. 10,000 rupees sales are being made on the credit. So the loading factor is 2% per month. When you are loading the sales, that is the selling price of the sales we are going to make in the market, that is 10,000 rupees worth of the sales, which include everything, that is the cost as well as profit. Apart from that, the third thing we are going to add up here is, because sales are on credit, that is the interest factor. So if he is loading with 2% per month, so the loading factor comes up as, or causes the increase in the selling price from 10,000 to 10,600, because 600 is the interest which the buyer has to pay to the seller on a credit period of 3 months. In the second case, if the credit period is extended by the seller to the buyer, then the loading factor becomes double, because the credit period is also becoming double from 3 to 6 months. If it is becoming still further more by 3 months, then the loading factor will become again 3 times. The total loading amount or the total interest the seller will charge from the buyer will be 1,800, and if it is to be increased up to 12 months, then the loading factor is going up 4 times, again 2%, but 12 months, it means for the whole of the year he is charging the interest at the rate of 24%. So it means final selling price in the column number 3 or the point number 3, final selling price is becoming as 10,600 if the credit period is 3 months, 11,200 if the credit period is 6 months, and 11,800 if the credit period is 9 months, and 12,400 if the credit period is 12 months or the 1 year, right. So he is, this is the final price going to be decided, but you see this final price is going to be received by him when? In the first case after 3 months, in the second case after 6 months, in the third case after 9 months, and in the fourth case after 12 months or 1 year. This amount is not going to receive today, this is going to receive after the period of time which we are considering, and these are the 4 time periods. Now subtract from this cost of sales, we assume that the cost of sales is say 80%, say in this case is 8,000. So that is same in all the 4 cases, because cost will remain the same. Cost of production we are talking about, not the interest part, interest is different. So cost of production or the cost of sales is say 8,000, 8,000, 8,000 and 8,000. So what is the net profit? Selling price is 10,600, cost of sales is 8,000, so net profit is 2,600 in first case, 3,200 in the second case, 3,800 in the third case, and 4,400 in the fourth case. Now I was talking to you the problem, now it has come up here. Income tax we are assuming here is, for example, the seller has to pay, seller is subject to pay a corporate tax or the income tax or the tax on his income is say 45%, at the rate of 45%. It is the assumed rate, it can be anything, it actually it is 30%, but say for example we have assumed here is 45%. So see, at the point of sales where he is not getting anything in cash, he has already paid 8,000 rupees, which is the cost of sales in terms of material, in terms of labor, in terms of power, in terms of water and other things. And other thing he is going to pay to the government, being in India the advanced tax payment system, that is 1170, that is 45% of his profit is going to be paid by him, deposited by him in the government treasury as the advanced tax. So how much is the profit after tax left? In the first case it is 1430, second case 1760, third case 2090, and fourth case 2420, that is the profit after tax, right. Now amount payable at the point of sale, amount payable at the point of sales, how much he is paying at the point of sales, which is going out of his pocket. He is paying this first 8,000 rupees which he has already spent, he is already paid, right. Second thing is that he is paying this 1170 in the first case 3 months credit period, and this is going as a advance tax to the government. So, total amount which is going out of his pocket is 9170. He has already paid 9170 but not received any cash, right. Now, after 3 months, after 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or 12 months, he will receive the credit sales amount, total amount, right. That is the cost plus profit plus loading factor. So, he will receive in the first case 10,600 which is the final price, in the second case 11,200 which is the final price, third case 11,800 which is the final price, and fourth case 12,400 which is the final price inclusive of all the inputs including profit. Now, we calculate the present value of this sales proceeds which is going to receive after the credit period, and let us discount these because we have to calculate the NPV, net present value. How much actually he is getting, that has to be calculated, because say 10,600 received after 3 months is not 10,600. Similarly, 11,000 after 6 months, 11,200 after 6 months is not 11,200. Similarly, 11,800 after 9 months is not the same amount, and 12,400 after 12 months is not the same amount. So, let us discount it. We are discounting it at the loading factor again, that is the interest factor, cost of capital, and loading factor here is 2% we have taken with which we have loaded the credit sales. So, when you are discounting it, the sale proceeds we are receiving at the end of the credit period, we are using the discount factor that is at the rate of 2% per month, which is again the opportunity cost of the seller. We are getting these factors and multiplying the sales proceeds we are receiving at the end of the credit period with the discount factor, we are getting the present value of those sales we are receiving, right. So, we are receiving actually how much? We are receiving 10,600, but the value, the real value, present value of that is at the discount factor of 2% is 9988. In the second case, against the 11,200 rupees received, we have actually received 9946. In the third case, against 11,800 we have received 9874, and in the fourth case against 12,400 we have received 9777. This is the present value of the amount we have received. So, it means in this case how much amount was paid at the point of sale? He had paid, that is at 8,000 as a cost and 1170 as the tax, and how much he is receiving now as the present value? 9988. So, 9988 minus 9170 is the net present value of the total, that is how much is the cash outflow, how much is the cash inflow. If you calculate the present value of both cash outflow and cash inflow, so we calculate the net present value that way. If you calculate the net present value that way, for 3 months credit period NPV is positive, 6 months credit period NPV is again positive but coming down. It was 818 for 3 months, 6 months it is 506, and 9 months it is 164, further come down NPV, and at 12 months credit period it has become negative 20 minus 203. Net present values requires that any project, any investment proposal is acceptable to the investor if the NPV of that proposal is 0 minimum. If it is positive, very good, but it should not at all be negative. So, in this case seller is a investor here because he is going to invest his money in the credit sales. So, seller is a investor here, he is investing 10,000 plus tax part on that. So, it means NPV is positive, he is having no problem. 818 is the NPV and he is happy to sell. 6 months also no problem, if he is say selling for a 6 months credit period, NPV is coming down, but no problem, still it is positive. Even up to 9 months he is not at all having a problem, NPV is coming out as 164 positive, but when he extends the credit period from 9 to 12 months, then the NPV becomes negative. It means he cannot sell for a period of 12 months on credit, because at this period NPV becomes negative. It means maximum length of the credit period in this case can be somewhere between 9 to 12 months. It is neither 12 months, and if you want to extend it, then it can increase it beyond 9 months little, because we have a positive NPV here at 9 months also, but it can be say 10 months or 10.5 months or 11 months, like we will see the further calculations, but not at least 12 months. At 12 months the NPV is becoming negative, and in that case if any project, any investment proposal which is giving us a negative NPV, we do not consider that proposal worthwhile for investment. So, we will not make any investment here. Now, why this problem has come? As the credit period is going up, the NPV is coming down. Why this problem has come up here? That is a $1 million question now we have to see, and this is creating the problem, and this is the limitation here. Why it is happening, like say, because you see that if you talk about the credit period here, we are extending from 3 to 12 months, and the important components which we have here to work out the profit and the other sales considerations, we have to recover first the selling price, that is 10,000, and second thing is the loading factor, that is the interest cost for which the credit is going to be extended. Total this recovery has to be there, but in this case why it is happening so? Because of the tax factor, because he is asked or he is supposed to pay the tax on that amount which is say profit is no problem, he can pay the tax, but on the loading factor also he is supposed to pay the tax. Loading factor is his interest cost, he should not be supposed to pay the tax on that, but he is supposed to pay the tax on the loading factor also. So, that is a bone of contention. One problem is that, and the first problem, there is a second problem. First problem is that is because of the advanced tax payment system. He is being asked to pay the tax in advance. So, it means you see here at the point of sale we are saying how much he is paying? He is paying at the point of sale is 9170. He is not paying at the point of sale only 8,000. If the system allows him, if the tax system allows him that okay, you sell on credit, and on the date of collection or after the collection of the credit sales, it means that is at the end of the credit period, from the sale proceeds whatever the profit you earn, you have to pay the tax, and you pay the tax after your sales are realized, then there is no problem at all. Then I can say that even after 12 months period also the NPV will be positive. Even after 12 months period also, which is a very lengthy this credit period, 12 months credit period, the NPV will be positive. But because of this issue that he is going to pay the advance tax to the government, so he is going to shell out two important components. He is going to shell out 8,000 rupees, which is his cost of sales. Second thing is he is going to pay the tax in advance on that profit which he himself has not received in cash on that day. So, because of the net value net present value problems, if you calculate the NPV out of that, the total transactions, in that case we will say that because of this advanced tax payment system, NPV is becoming negative at the 12 months credit period. If he is allowed to pay the tax on the collection of the credit sales, maybe after 3 months, maybe after 6 months, maybe after 9 months, or maybe after 12 months, in that case even after 12 months the NPV will be positive. How? Let us see that how the NPV will be. Like we will assume here that say for example, what is the gross realization after 12 months? Gross realization after 12 months, after 12 months is going to be how much? He is going to realize how much? That is 12,400. This is the amount which is going to realize, 12,400 he is going to realize, that is 12,400 at the point of, not at the point of sale, but gross realization after 12 months he will be getting 12,400, right. Now say in this case, when you talk about this total amount, then less tax. How much tax is going to pay? Less income tax. So, income tax we have already calculated here. What is the income tax here? That income tax is 1980. So, in this 1980, let us subtract that, let him pay. He received 12,400 from the buyer, then first he will make the payment of the tax which he has to pay on the profit. So, income tax is 1980, he will be paying this. So, it means net realization is how much? Net realization is how much he is getting, that is 10,420 20, right. He paid the tax after realization of the sales proceeds after 12 months, which was 12,400, and on that he is paying the tax, that is 1980, which is supposed to pay on the profit which he is earning. We have already calculated this tax part, and then net realization to him is 10,420. Now you discount this discounted value. If you discount this, so this will be somewhere 10,420 into discount factor is, what is the discount factor here? Discount factor is here, that is 0.7885. 0.7885. If you discount with this factor, this amount will come out as, say, something like this, 8216. 8216, this is the net realization, or you can call it as the discounted value of the, this is a discounted value of the realization we have got is, which is 10,420. And what is the cost of sales? Cost of sales. Cost of sales here is, this is 8,000. So what is NPV now? Net present value is, this is 216 positive. So it means, because of the advanced tax payment system in India, the credit period cannot be extended beyond a particular length. Because of advanced tax payment system, after a certain period of time, the net present value earned by the seller on that investment on credit sales becomes negative because of this particular factor of the advanced tax payment. Now you see that problem is further more aggravated because of one important thing. Why that? What that important thing is, that problem is further more aggravated when he has to pay the tax on this loading factor also. This 2,400 here in this case, that is the in case of your say this loading factor, 2,400 is his interest cost, that is not his profit, but he has to pay the tax on this loading factor also, and that too in advance. So because of this reason, he is ending up paying more tax, even on the loading factor also he is ending up paying more tax as compared to what he is earning from this interest income after loading the credit sales. Let us see how it is happening, or how it will be something like, say we talk here that, say for example, we are talking about the opportunity cost for 12 months, and how much is the loading factor he has used at the rate of 2% per month. He has total amount which the credit sales he has loaded with this rupees 2400s, that is 2,400s, right. And on this he is paying the tax at the rate of 45%. How much he is paying? He is paying 2,400s, and 45% of that is how much? That works out as 1080. This is rupees 1080 he is paying. So what is the present, means the total tax he is paying out of 2,400, which is interest cost, 45% tax he has paid, and that 1080 out of this loading factor has gone to the government as tax, and that too in advance, right. After paying this, say how much he is realizing? He is realizing 2,400 minus 1080. So how much it is coming to him? The amount coming to him is, that is 1320. This amount is coming to him, and if you calculate, as this amount is coming to him when he is paying this 1080 at the point of sales. So it means there is no loss of present value to the government. 1080 means 1080, but this amount is coming to him after 2,400 is coming to him after 12 months. Out of this he has already paid 12 months back 1080 as a tax to the government. So in fact he is receiving from this, which already is gone, this amount is gone, it means he in fact is receiving 1320. And now you calculate the present value of this 1320 into this 0.78, what is the factor here? 7885. So if you calculate this, then this works out as 1040. So what is the net present value of this opportunity cost. NPV of net present value of opportunity cost is, that is 1040. How much has gone to the government? 1080. So NPV of the opportunity cost is, if you see here, the NPV of the opportunity cost is, that is rupees minus 40. So this is because of this particular problem, the net present value becomes negative. And the problem is furthermore, when he has to pay the tax on his opportunity cost, then this NPV is negative after 9 months, maybe not after 9 months, but at the exactly at the 12 months credit period. And we have seen already in the previous this calculations that if he is allowed to pay the tax after the realization of the sales after 12 months, then even after 12 months or maybe 3 months, 6 months, 9 months or 12 months, even after say the period of 12 months, NPV will be positive, which we have seen here, which is 216 here. And here the reason for this problem which we are seeing here is the say NPV which is negative, that is of the opportunity cost, that is the loading factor. Loading factor is his cost, not his income, and on that also he has to pay the tax, advance tax, and because of that NPV becomes negative at the 12 months credit period. So how much should be the real credit period, how to work it out, and furthermore discussions we will be talking in the next class. Thank you very much.